Here we are, Sander Berkouwer and Raymond Comvalius for a wrap-up of Windows and Identity at Ignite.
At Microsoft Ignite 2018. Yep. We're gonna talk about what we saw, what we've seen, what they've been talking about, what the news is, and of course how we are going to take that home and use it to our benefit and our customers' benefits, right?
Right.
So you want to start it?
Okay, yeah. Let's start with Windows.
Yeah, let's start with the boring part. Yeah.
Well, I think for Windows there was one really important announcement this week.
All right.
Windows Virtual Desktop Services, which actually had a Dutch twist.
Oh, tell me all about it. Now I want to know.
I had an
My
interview.
interest is speak
I had
now.
an interview with our fellow Dutch guy, Pieter Wigleven, who is currently the program manager for Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yeah. So guys at home, if you ever wonder how you should pronounce the guy's last name, it's not Wigglevan, it's Wigleven. Just to be sure. You'll love that.
And I think the interesting part is that this will be a Azure-only service.
Oh, definitely.
So
yeah.
they created a new Windows 10 version, which is multi-user, that you cannot get yourself. It will only be there available in the cloud as a service to run your own applications.
And of course it will be continually improved, and we'll see all most innovations there first. And of course the other thing is that it will probably be licensed as a subscription. There's not a lot of talk about licensing, of course, at Ignites.
No.
But what's your expectation?
I think it is a chance. It's a big chance for corporations to move lots of their legacy out of their own networks. And as soon as they are able to land it on Windows 10 in the cloud, that they don't have all the hassles of keeping up with the next releases, because Microsoft will do it for them.
Yeah, and if there's problems, they'll probably find out sooner too. Just right before enterprises would, and that would just fly in as changes through the normal channels that we're already seeing. So would you expect improvements on that channel too?
What do you mean on the channel?
So the last couple of years we've seen some problems with people adopting rapid changes in Windows and Windows Server. We're seeing patches that were well, you know what? I'm not gonna even swear on camera. But we both been there, right? So do you think that for Windows specifically, that would be something that would improve because of that? Because Microsoft is now responsible for its own servers and making it happen, and they'll probably find out challenges in patching and stuff like that sooner than even the biggest enterprises would.
It will help, but I'm not sure if it will make a big impact, because Microsoft has always been like using its own products first. So usually they should be able to run into those issues already.
Yeah, they might, yeah.
And the only thing that happens now is that there will be a larger number of applications that they are hosting and have to support. So yes, it will help them to get better insights of what's going on outside of their own ecosystem.
Yeah, because that's the real challenge, right? It's not the stuff that is inside of that Microsoft bubble.
No.
And I know that's a bit of a negative speak, but Microsoft has always had their own bubble, and we've always had a bigger bubble, the rest of the world bubble even, realistic bubbles perhaps even. And as Microsoft would say, we've always found ways to use a Microsoft product in a way that they've never envisioned. To be, as Daniel said earlier this week, to be defiant, deviant. Yep, I know.
And I think one big change here for Microsoft is that they are able to provide you with a desktop client that is in the Azure data center. So what you currently see is that lots of larger customers are fighting with the fact that if they already have virtual desktops and they are in their own data center and they are trying to use, like for instance, Office 365, there's lots of performance issues, lots of challenges to get stuff running the right way for the end user.
Oh yeah,
and that will be a lot.
We're seeing that already in Office applications like Outlook, where people would would have caching in Outlook on their on-premises environments, but not on remote desktop services hosts, not for Office 365 and stuff like that, just because caching is just, well, it's creating more problems than it's solving.
Yeah.
And having a desktop closer to the data will probably alleviate that. Yeah. I agree.
It's a nice part.
Yep. But would you agree that as Microsoft is offering us more and more services, they'll be scrutinized even more when one of these services or even an entire stack of services would get compromised?
There is a certain risk, but I think that Microsoft is heavily investing to make sure that that won't happen.
Oh, I agree. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw a presentation from Alex Wienert, who's a, I'm never sure if it's a group program manager, principal program manager. I'm sorry, Alex, I don't want to offend you. I'm just going to call you
Program manager.
Program manager, yeah. You're probably way up there, but that's okay. So Alex showed us in his presentation, one of his presentations even, that they are actively investigating and actively hunting those compromises, and they're seeing thousands of compromised accounts per day. They're seeing one in every 100,000 customers with admin accounts with multi-factor authentication being breached. And even though enabling MFA diminishes your risk by a lot, by a factor 1 in 100,000, there's still risks of compromise. So as Microsoft is offering us more and more services in the cloud, we'll see that identity protection is going to be a tougher play, and a play requiring more investments with each cycle. Yeah.
And what you see, it's not only identity protection. You see, it's across the whole protection stack.
Oh,
the ATP. We've seen the introduction this week of the new security dashboard, where they are aggregating all the security sensors.
Yep. There's now one security dashboard. Everything's aggregated there. Yep.
And what you see is that's the kind of investment they are doing to prevent bad things from happening.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
So I'm not concerned that that's a real issue. They are taking care of that part.
Yeah, and I think they should, because in earlier interviews, and I think we both got in their question, was like, so which of the two is more secure, Active Directory or Azure Active Directory, right? And we've discussed in length about that question, and I believe our consensus was that currently Azure Active Directory is more secure because Active Directory has its own share of problems. But as organizations are embracing Azure Active Directory more and more, it will become a much bigger target for those that want to do harm. And so I'm really glad that Microsoft is taking these measures to keep it secure, because there's 1.1 billion identities in Azure Active Directory right now.
True.
Already. Yeah.
Well, and that was not the only conversation I had. I also had a nice discussion with Fred Pullen, who's in charge of Microsoft Edge.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah.
And Edge is something that Microsoft is aware that is the future of browsing on Windows. And even still, they know there is no way to now get rid of Internet Explorer. So we will keep seeing that around for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that big pile of legacy, it's something that I've talked to Jeff Woolsey about too, because the play that Jeff has is that it's not about Windows Server anymore. It's the entire stack of Windows Server, Azure Stack, and Azure. And if you deploy something, or if you develop something, you have the ability now to create it for the entire stack. And then I said, so Jeff, how do we get to that stack if we got an equal large stack, probably larger, of legacy technology and legacy applications and systems and services in our enterprises, but also small businesses and stuff like that. How do you get from there to there? And that's, it's taking culture shift. It's taking embracing the unknown. It's about diversity too. Yeah.
I really had an interesting interview about that subject as well with Donna Sarkar, who is currently in charge of Windows Insiders, and she explained that Microsoft is actually broadening of the Insiders program to other products of Microsoft.
Yeah. So what we're seeing today is or this week, is the introduction of the Microsoft 365 Insiders program. Yeah. So it's not just Windows anymore.
No.
As part of Microsoft 365 E3 and E5, it's not just Office anymore. It's not just Windows and Azure anymore. It's everything that you can now be an insider on. Yeah,
with support for the enterprise customer. So that's part of the trying to change the way enterprise customers work with new products. Not to wait for the product to be finished and then start looking at it, but start looking at it from the development cycle.
And I looked at that, right? So in the normal stack of products, what was the last Service Pack 1 we saw? My guess, it was Office 2013 Service Pack 1. That was the last Service Pack 1 that I saw. And you know that, right? There's a lot of enterprises that are waiting for Service Pack 1 to drop before adopting. What are these guys doing today?
It's over.
Yeah, it's game over, right? Yeah.
And probably what you see is that those things are shifting. It's the same like the last interview I had today with Michael Niehaus, who is in charge of Autopilot, and at some point you feel it. Autopilot is going to replace the operating system deployment that we had with images.
Yeah, but what you see with Windows and whether it's Autopilot or whether it's Windows as a desktop and Azure, if it won't work with your legacy stuff, you can't get there.
No.
Yeah, and that's I think Michael said something along the same lines too. So Autopilot is an absolute fantastic service, and there's a huge uptick on it, but it's not for everyone.
No, they acknowledge the fact that they are not ready yet. He also told us about the roadmap, and especially when you look at the roadmap, you notice that those are the shortcomings of the current version of Autopilot, and that's why they have to invest in those things, like making sure that, for instance, an Autopilot system must be finished with the installation in a shorter period of time. Currently, it takes like 2 hours.
Yeah, so that's one of the announcements that we saw, where the sizes of patches is actually shrinking. But we also saw I'm not sure what the real name was, but the name I got was the white glove service from the IT department. Yeah. So your IT department is now able to do most of the steps in Autopilot before the device actually gets to you.
Cool. Yeah. So those are nice things.
Yep.
Should we wrap up?
Should we?
I guess so.
Let's look at what they're doing over at Mechanics. they're making an awful lot of noise.
Really noisy now.
Yep. They're having some sort of quiz. Let's see if we can join them.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.